Okay, I'll now call the August 18th special council meeting open for business.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
With a conflict of interest of the whole agenda.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so I will duly note that. And the first motion is just to accept the addendum to the special council meeting to the agenda, mind you. So Mr. DePetty, can I get a first?
Yes.
And Councillor Bourrier, second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor DePetty, second by Councillor Bourrier. Be it resolved that council accepts the addendum to August 18th, 2020 special council meeting. So I'll go to Councillor Gingras. Are you for or against?
Yes, for.
And the rest, is that all in favor?
Yes.
And that carries. Okay, we'll move on to number 3 now. Colleen, delegations. Colleen Hannigan, Integrity Commissioner, Expertise for Municipalities, to present a inquiry report for the Township of Nairn and Hyman regarding a code of conduct complaint regarding Councillor McDonald. So I'll turn it over to you, Colleen, and I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Devo. I'm just happy to be here tonight. I wanted to drop by and meet everyone face to face for a change, because been speaking to people and not knowing who they really were, looks wise and personal wise, and I haven't gotten a chance to meet you, Mr. Mayor, but maybe that'll happen. And anyway, this is as everyone knows, this is basically the last day that these reports can come to council, and tomorrow's nomination day, as everybody is probably aware, and so that's why we're here tonight. And thank you very much for calling a special meeting to deal with this. So just to begin, we did receive a request for an inquiry from a member of the public. You all have a copy of it in front of you. And so we'll just work our way through it. And at the end of the presentation, then I'll turn that back to the mayor and take the meeting from there. I do have another meeting at 7 o'clock, which Belinda has kindly let me set up in her office. So I'll be doing that from here as well. So thank you for letting me use your facility. And again, I chose to come tonight. I could have done this by Zoom, but I will be charging a fee for driving here, or that time. So anyway, the requester more specifically alleged that during the special council meeting for the budget, that Councilor McDonald made some inappropriate and disparaging remarks about specific staff's work behavior at an open public meeting, which contravenes the code of conduct and other bylaws. And after initial review, it was determined that we had grounds to go to a full inquiry. So we did find that at that meeting, after listening to the recorded meeting, that there were about 9 sections of the governing policies that were put in place by council. And in fact, Councillor McDonald admitted at one point his actions firmly believes that it is his role as a member of council to comment on or performance manage employees. So additionally, Councillor McDonald seems to believe that it's acceptable to contravene bylaws and policies approved by council if no one is there to hear him do it. It is clear that Councillor McDonald continues to micromanage the operation of the municipality, as well as bring up personnel issues in open public meetings, even after significant restrictions are placed on him by council after was found by the Integrity Commissioner to contravene the code of conduct in December 2020, as well as the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which is not through the Integrity Commissioner. The allegations that we considered were similar in nature to those that were already addressed in a similar inquiry. And so based on the documentary evidence, and when I say that, it's simply the fact that the only real evidence that we used was the recording of the meeting. So it's actual fact as opposed to he said, she said, so we did find that Councilor McDonald did make inappropriate and disparaging remarks directed at more than one member of staff during the meeting, and brought up operational matters that were not on the meeting agenda. So by doing so, he violated a number of sections of the code of conduct, that are there before you in number 8. And additionally, contravene the proceedings bylaw as well as the council staff relations policy. So the recommendations from the integrity commissioner to council, of course, it's council's at this point in time to act on those or not. On finding a breach, you can either levy a penalty or either reprimand or suspension of remuneration for up to 90 days for each breach. So this is the second time that Councilor McDonald has been found to have contravened the code of conduct in this term of the council. We therefore recommend council impose the minimum 90 days suspension of pay as a penalty. And that can be dealt separately, Mr. Mayor, with, by council. The other recommendations that we make are really for all of council, and that the CAO contact the information privacy commissioner to seek guidance on the fact that personal information was disclosed in a public forum, that the mayor and have the mayor review the staff council policy with Councilor McDonald. And that when Councilor McDonald attempts to bring up matters that are not on the agenda or related to operational management, and most importantly, mayor and or councilors follow appointment procedure. And that's right in your procedure bylaw and also in Robert rules. I mean, you've been around a long time and some are new to this table, but those are very helpful things to review once in a while. So the inquiry process that we followed was, excuse me, we did look at the policies and the code of conduct, obviously, the conduct at meetings, the conduct respecting staff and officers, the council proceedings bylaw, as I said, and under that, the code of that conduct and duty of councilors to speak only the subject matter debate, and also the scope and intent of council staff relations policy, which is to ensure that the relationship between members of council and officers and staff is cooperative and supportive with a clear understanding of respective roles and responsibilities. Also, under number 7, anger, the section of that was comments on staff and officer performance shall be directed through the appropriate confidential performance reviews and not in open council meetings. So respect, members, staff shall work hard at fostering a climate of mutual respect, and each must be respectful of others' intelligence and professional duties. Members and staff and officers must understand that they all face different and often unique challenges and recognize their overarching goals to serve the best interests of the municipality. The findings of fact were based on the fact that in December of 2020, the integrity commission report to council at that time, which had a bit of different composition as it does today, but found that Councilor McDonald's behavior with respect to staff, that he had contravened the code of conduct when he breached the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and also when he made disparaging remarks about the competency of municipal employees. Therefore, thereafter, council applied a significant penalty rebuffing Councilor McDonald's behavior. During the June 7th council meeting, it was specifically dedicated to the review of the proposed budget. The budget was prepared by staff for council's consideration. So during the budget discussions, Councilor McDonald did make disparaging comments about operational personnel matters during the discussion of associated department budget items, identifying staff by name what title, numerous times for the meeting. At one point in the recording, Councilor McDonald was starting to say something and said, "I shouldn't, nobody's here," so, and then carried on to disparage staff by relating what he heard from his constituents and what he thought wasn't getting done or what should be done at the operational level. And later in the meeting, Councilor McDonald began discussing the industrial project related to the current budget that's being developed in the township. He explained that a resident had taken him out to view the project, and he was so shocked at the size of the development that he felt that council had not been kept in the loop. This project, I guess, was originally approved at council in 2013, just going back a number of years. He then went on to say the resident had told him that a certain employee had been fired and that he already hired someone to fill the position. And in fact, the employee did quit in late 2021, and the position was filled by senior staff as of May 2022. Council staff policy states clearly that comments on staff and officer performance shall be directed through the appropriate confidential performance reviews. Near the end of the meeting, Councilor McDonald said to council that it is staff's job to communicate to council what is going on. He then says, "We're council, we run this town." Then again reiterates that he needs to know what's going on. Councilor McDonald finished his interview with the integrity commissioner saying he didn't feel he'd done anything wrong and issues to the table, and that complaints to the integrity commissioner have been unwarranted. Analysis of the facts. Members of council are held to a higher standard of ethical behavior, and it says that right in your policies. And are expected to adhere to the code and other municipalities, the pertinent sections which have been detailed in that number 14 of that. So when Councilor McDonald stated that he shouldn't have, nobody's here, so he in essence admitted to everyone he knew that speaking the way he was out of line. But no matter how strongly Councilor McDonald feels he should know what's going on operationally, that's his belief. Council runs this town. He is wrong to a certain extent in that particular take on this. Council is the governance body whose responsibility is to set the strategic direction of the municipality, to determine what services and the level of services that the municipality will provide, and make the laws, as well as evaluate how the adopted policies are working. Being on council is not an administrative position. Councilors individually are not supervisors and not to act as such by attempting to micromanage the operation, including the management of staff performance. Moreover, council as a body has one employee, the CAO, and is responsible for the performance management of that position. Council as a whole does need to know what's going on to ensure the staff are carrying out the direction given to them by council as a governing body. That doesn't mean that council is privy to them every minute detail of what work is carried out by staff daily. It does mean that council requests that staff provide reports on how the direction of council is being carried out. To be clear, a member of council wanting detail about a specific project or policy can request that council pass a resolution directing the CAO to provide a report on the matter. Of concern in this circumstance is that while he is aware there is a formal process in place that identifies how council staff are to communicate and outlines that council governs through bylaws and resolutions, and staff make reports to council when necessary or when directed to do so by council, not by single councillors. Councillor McDonald continues to inappropriately bring up matters in blatant disregard of council's policy. Also of concern is that council may only discuss matters that are on the meeting agenda. The Office of the Ombudsman has found that when council speaks to matters that are not on the posted agenda, they are in essence having an illegal closed meeting, even if the meeting is open to the public. The agenda as a special meeting did not include the industrial project, and as a matter not part of the 2022 budget or staff performance management. The remarks made by Councillor McDonald related to specific staff behaviors were not properly discussed by council, as it's not council's role to performance manage staff. Additionally, personnel matters are confidential and should never be discussed in public by council. Section 14.3G of the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act, you often heard it called MFIPA, provides that it is a presumed breach of privacy to disclose personal information which consists of personal recommendations or evaluations of character references or personnel evaluations. Discussing employee performance in public is a breach of privacy. Anyone found to contravene MFIPA could be subject to a fine of up to $5,000. And Councillor McDonald's actions are a violation of MFIPA. When a councillor has a concern about the performance of an officer or employee of the municipality, they should bring their concerns to the attention of the CAO. It's the responsibility of the CAO to manage the performance of officers and employees. Councillor McDonald's comment regarding the work performance and character of staff were inappropriate and contrary to law. At the June 7th budget council meeting alone, Councillor McDonald contravened 9 sections of the government policies that were put in place by council. As a member of council for many years, Councillor McDonald seems to think it is acceptable to do so if no one is listening, or possibly even if they are. He continues to attempt to micromanage the municipality as well as bring up personnel issues in open public meetings. Council McDonald's statements during his interview confirmed it is unlikely additional training will change this well-established behavior. Council McDonald also feels the expenses relating to integrity commissioner inquiries and related Occupational Health and Safety Act investigations are the fault of others, as opposed to his own unwillingness to change his behavior as the requirements of his position as a member of council continue to evolve. And that's my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. I guess I'll open it up to the floor for any councillors if they have any questions or any questions for Colleen first. I guess I'll open it up.
Oh, he can't see.
Oh, he can't see. Mr.
Oh,
Chair?
yeah, go ahead.
It's regarding the recommendation. In 11, they recommend 90 days for each breach, but in 12, they recommend only 90 days. So is that because there's 3 offenses? So you should be penalized for 270 days? I'm not.
Yeah.
Amount, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Colleen. I'll get you to answer that.
Want to answer that?
No, go ahead. Yeah, you can.
Thank you for you to Councilor Petty. The amount of penalty is entirely up to council. That's the extent of the penalties are set out in legislation. We make a recommendation often if there are more than one breach, we would recommend for more than 90 days, right? But in this case, we're coming up to the end of a term, 90 days pretty much would take it almost to that extent. The breaches are very similar, although there are a lot of different policies. The actual breaches themselves are basically the same type of breach, right? So, and again, that's just a recommendation from the integrity commissioner. Council can decide to have it as many days as they like.
So,
Councillor?
Mr. Chair, if I understand correctly, the integrity commissioner is giving Councilor McDonald quite the break. Quite the break. It should at least be 180. So, all right. My question has been answered. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions for Colleen? Okay, I don't see any, so I'll go to, we have a motion to accept the report as presented. Councillor Gingras, can I get a first on that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Despatie, a second? Moved by Councillor Gingras, seconded by Councillor Despatie. Be it resolved that council accepts as presented the minutes and reports item 6B, Integrity Commissioner report / decision, contravention of the Township of Nairn and Hyman's Code of Conduct by Councillor Rod McDonald. All in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. Okay, and now I know Councillor McDonald, you did call a conflict of interest, but I'm willing to open the floor if you have anything to say once the report or now that the report has been accepted.
No, I got nothing to say.
Okay. So I guess we'll move on to the recommendation. I have a motion for the recommendation. Will open it up for council's thoughts on that regarding the penalty.
Mr.
Councillor
Chair?
Despatie. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Councillor Gingras?
No, it's okay. Councillor Despatie, go ahead.
Okay, Councillor Despatie.
It is my opinion that the 90 days is extremely lenient, as evidenced by all the possible offenses, if you will, that have occurred. So I would propose 90 days.
Okay, is there Councillor Gingras, you have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. After just hearing my colleague speak, I agree. I am good with 90 days.
Okay, and Councillor Bourrier, do you have anything for us?
I agree with my fellow councilors. Basically because of the reasons stated by Colleen, that we're at the end of it, so that's pretty much all we can do.
Okay, and will you move that motion, Councillor?
Yes, I will.
And Councillor Gingra, a second?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bourrier, second by Councillor Gingra, whereas a request for inquiry was made to the Integrity Commissioner alleging Councillor McDonald had contravened the Township's Code of Conduct during the June 7th, 2022 Special Council meeting. And whereas an inquiry was conducted by the Integrity Commissioner in response to the request, and a report was presented to Council on August 18th, 2022. And whereas the Integrity Commissioner found Councillor McDonald did contravene section 6.1, 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3 of the Township's Code of Conduct. And whereas the Integrity Commissioner found Councillor McDonald did contravene the Township's Council Proceedings Bylaw, section 12.4 and 18.1. And whereas the Integrity Commissioner found that Councillor McDonald did contravene the Council's Staff Relation Policy Bylaw number 2021-10, section 2, 7, and 11. Whereas Council has considered the findings and recommendations of the Integrity Commissioner, and therefore be it resolved, Council suspends Councillor McDonald's remuneration for a period of 90 days for his contravention of the above noted bylaws and policies. Council directs the CAO to contact the Information Privacy Commissioner to seek guidance due to the fact that Councillor McDonald disclosed personal information in a public forum. And the Mayor review the Council Staff Relations Policy with Councillor McDonald. And if Councillor McDonald attempts to bring up items that are not on the agenda or are related to operational micromanagement and the performance of staff, the Mayor and or councillors will call a point of procedure and request Councillor McDonald to cease. All in favor?
Yes.
And that carries. Okay, we'll move on now to 7A, expertise for municipalities, Office of Integrity Commissioner, a reminder for the, oh, no, my bad, 6 minutes and reports, expertise for municipalities, Office of Integrity Commissioner regarding the annual report. I guess we did receive it in our agenda package. Just if there's any questions or comments, go ahead, but if not, we can move to accept that report. And I think Colleen's got a couple more minutes if we have any more questions on the report. Okay, I don't see any. So if I can get a first for Councillor Despatie.
Yes.
Councillor Bourrier, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Despatie, second by Councillor Bourrier. Resolved that the following minutes and reports 6A be noted as received. Expertise for municipalities, Office of Integrity Commissioner regarding the Integrity Commissioner's 2021 annual report. All in favor?
Yes.
And that carries. We'll now move on to 7A, expertise for municipalities, Office of Integrity Commissioner regarding a reminder for the Integrity Commissioner from the Integrity Commissioner for the 2022 municipal election. Is there any comments on that? Don't see any right away. So Councillor Gingra first on that one.
Yes.
Councillor Despatie, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Gingra, second by Councillor Despatie. Resolved that Council notes the correspondence item 7A as received. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. And we'll now move on to considering there's nothing under the agenda until 14, the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Borrier, a first.
Yes.
Councillor Gingras, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Borrier, second by Councillor Gingras, being resolved that being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council, and its number shall be 2022-21. All in favor?
Yes.
And that carries. And this is just to close it out. Is there any comments before we close it out? None. Okay, so I'll get Councillor Despatie a first
Yes.
and Councillor Borrier a second.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Despatie, second by Councillor Borrier, that the meeting of August 18th, 2022 do now adjourn at 6:55 p.m. and to meet again on the 12th day of September or at the call of the mayor. All in favor?
Yes.
And that carries. I'll ask the CEO to stop the recording.